And she was with you generally, when I say with you, at the scene during the entire time that you're describing the events that you described with Mr. Brennan on direct examination?
For the most part.
Okay. She then left in a particular ambulance, correct?
Yes, she ended up driving ambulance 1 to Good Samaritan.
And ambulance 1 was which ambulance?
Ambulance 1 was the initial ambulance that myself, firefighter Kelly, and firefighter Flamati responded in.
So right after this scene, right after the scene you described, as you're leaving the scene, firefighter McLaughlin is in the ambulance with you and firefighter Flamati, correct?
She is driving. So the 3 of us are in the back.
With Monday.com's intuitive work management platform, you have the power, not IT, not admins.
To the hospital with the other firefighters.
I believe so, yes.
So she was with you in the engine. She was, although in the driving cab, she was with you, ambulance in the driving cab. She was also with you right after the scene at the hospital, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she was also with you later after you cleared the hospital and went back to the station.
Yes, sir.
You had discussions with firefighter Flamati about the incident. That would be normal protocol.
Correct.
Almost like a debrief.
Sure.
You had the same types of discussions with firefighter Kelly, Matt Kelly.
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing that you probably had the same sorts of discussions with firefighter Walsh.
I actually don't know if I saw firefighter Walsh when we got back. The weather was... That was right at shift change, and the weather getting back was also getting worse, so I honestly couldn't speak to that.
And you also had conversations with firefighter McLaughlin after you cleared the hospital and got back to the station as well.
She was part of the debrief, yes, sir.
Okay. And all of you discussed what you did, saw, and heard, generally speaking, while at the scene, correct?
Those are more in terms of getting equipment wrangled, really kind of how they go. What did we use? What do we need? What are we going to have to restock when we get back?
Right. But there also was obviously discussions about what had just happened. I mean, you were dealing with a dead or dying police officer on a lawn, on a snow-covered lawn in a cold environment.
I honestly couldn't speak to that, sir. I honestly don't remember.
It's because you don't remember, correct?
Well, like I said, it's mostly those debriefs are usually, they're very equipment oriented because the goal at that point is to get back in service.
My question is not about the equipment. Obviously, you're going to discuss the equipment, make sure that the ambulance is ready for the next call, et cetera. I'm asking about a general debrief with the fellow firefighters, male and female, that you were with at that scene. You're telling me that you don't remember debriefing and discussing the incident and your observations at the incident following that incident.
No, sir.
Okay. But your memory, you indicated earlier, gets better with time, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't remember it as you sit here today?
Ask the question again.
Sure. Do you remember discussing with firefighter Flamati, firefighter Walsh, firefighter Kelly, or firefighter McLaughlin, any of them, your observations and what happened while at the scene after you cleared the hospital and got back to the station?
No, sir.
Have no memory of that whatsoever?
No, sir.
When we left off before lunch, I was asking you about a hematoma and a laceration over the right eye of Mr. O'Keefe. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
I asked you, is being punched in the face, can that lead to a small laceration like you saw and a hematoma like you saw?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. Can you answer that question?
I couldn't speak to how that injury occurred.
Is it consistent? Are those injuries, just those injuries, are those consistent? Okay, so that's what I'm asking you. It could be. In other words, it's consistent
Yes,
with
sir.
being punched in the face, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I want to ask you about this statement that you indicate that you heard that now is 3 statements, 3 phrases, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you heard this statement, describe for me exactly where you were. What were you doing and who was around you?
I was knelt at the head of John O'Keefe with a bag valve mask, delivering ventilations. Firefighter Kelly was to the right, and Firefighter Flamati was on the left side of Mr. O'Keefe, and the three of us together were working to perform CPR and ventilations.
And your job, and I hate to butcher it, but
Nope.
you'll correct me.
Yes, sir.
Your job was to do the airway, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm picturing a big balloon-like apparatus that you put over the patient's mouth. And
Exactly.
squeeze it.
Yes.
That's as opposed to, it's an advancement on just mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
You were the airway person doing the squeezing of the bag.
Correct.
What was Tony Flamati, firefighter Flamati, doing?
He was starting CPR, and which that point was taken over by Firefighter Kelly.
Okay, so firefighter, describe what that means of CPR.
So you put both hands together like this, one on top of the other. You put it right on top of the sternum, and you begin doing chest compressions 2 inches deep, allowing full recoil for 100 to 120 beats per minute, compressions a minute to sustain a cardiac rhythm. You're manually making the heart beat with each compression.
Which means that is a rhythmic pumping motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you see someone doing CPR, you're probably going to see their shoulders moving up and down and moving rhythmically, correct? Do you remember what firefighter Flamati was wearing? You had just come off of actually you were just coming onto a shift, so you didn't have all your foul weather gear officially, correct?
I had my puffy jacket.
Okay.
I had my Canton Fire jacket.
Got it. Firefighter Flamati, on the other hand, had a bright yellow jacket,
Correct.
sort of reflective and a safety jacket.
Yes, sir.
And he was kneeling to your left at the time doing, have I got that right?
Yep. Nope. Yep. You got that right.
Okay. He's kneeling to your left at the time doing chest compressions. That's when you indicate that Miss Reed walked over and made the statement.
Correct.
And Kelly was there as well?
Yes, sir.
Kneeling right beside all three of you as firefighter Flamati was giving the chest compressions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that the statement was in response to a question that you asked of my client. Do you know him?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Correct.
And she responded to you with the phrase that you've used. I hit him.
I hit him. I hit him. I hit him.
Right. So it's absolutely clear in your mind when that statement was made. You were knelt down over Mr. O'Keefe. Firefighter Flamati was doing the CPR, and Kelly was with the both of you when you posed that question.
Yes, sir.
It's a very detailed memory.
Yes, sir.
You indicated, Mr. Brennan, that sticks out in your mind. Is that right?
It does.
But that's not at all what you told Trooper Proctor on February 8th, just 10 days after this incident, is it?
I don't recall what I told Trooper Proctor.
I thought your memory got better with time.
I don't recall that meeting. I recall meeting with him, but I don't recall the extent of what was discussed.
You literally don't recall anything that was discussed in that meeting in that formal interview with the lead detective on this case.
We discussed the case, but I don't, in his words, I'm not sure what he put down.
What you said to Trooper Proctor on February 8th, 10 days after this, was you overheard Miss Reed say, I hit him one time to another female that she was talking to. Correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Did you say that?
I have no memory of this, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Did you say that her statement was an answer to a question posed by the female or a discussion with the female?
Break that down for me, sir.
Sure. Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th that what you heard was Karen Reed speaking to a female, not answering a question that you posed?
Again, I don't recall that specific question.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th while you were rendering aid, and at the time you heard the statement, Miss Reed was actually praying over John, your words, praying over John?
I don't recall ever saying that.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Here, Attorney Jackson is trying to impeach the credibility of the Commonwealth witness by claiming that his memory is
Did
not.
you say that you observed Karen Reed to have blood on her face from providing mouth-to-mouth breaths to Mr. O'Keefe prior to your arrival?
I remember Miss Reed having blood on her face, presumably from attempting CPR.
Do you remember telling Trooper Proctor on February 8th that you saw her with blood on her face from CPR?
I do.
So you remember that portion of your conversation with Trooper Proctor, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the praying over John, praying over the victim, you don't remember.
I don't remember ever saying that,
And
ever.
And the statement, I hit him to another female, you also don't remember that.
No, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were to look at a report
Yes, sir.
authored by Trooper Proctor? May I?
Yes.
May I direct the witness's attention to the second page, Your Honor?
All right, why don't you take a look at that?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, did you have an opportunity to glance at the report that you were just shown?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection about your conversation with Trooper Proctor that he put in a report?
It does not, sir.
So as you sit here, you have no memory of what you just read in this report from Trooper Proctor, the lead investigator on the case.
I have no recollection of ever saying that anybody prayed over anybody ever in this case.
You did see it in his report, though.
Right?
Sustained.
You've admitted under oath that your memory of the events at that time, from that time frame, January, February 2022, is faulty, correct?
No, sir.
In your April 2024, it's April 30th, 2024 testimony from last year. You were asked whether or not your memory was a little faulty, and your answer was absolutely, correct?
Could I have a page and number,
Where is
please?
that, Mr. Jackson?
Volume 8, page 151, lines 14 through 16. Lines 14 through 16. I'll just allow counsel to get that up.
If we could pose the entire question and give content to it, please.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah, so do you intend to show the whole question?
The whole question that I asked and his answer, yes.
All right, and I'll give you the opportunity on redirect, Mr. Chairman, if it's not. Go ahead.
Is it true that in answer to the question, quote, so it's fair to say your memory is a little bit faulty as it pertains to that time frame? Your answer was absolutely. Correct?
From last year?
What you testified to last year about conversations that you had with Trooper Proctor around February 8th of 2022.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree, as you sit here, that your memory is still faulty about your conversation with him.
With
correct?
Trooper Proctor? Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So you're not saying you didn't say that the statement was made to a woman, correct?
Objection.
Are you saying that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. And you're also not saying that you didn't say to Trooper Proctor that you saw Karen Reed praying over John O'Keefe.
Objection.
So I'd like you to ask that differently. Did you say that?
I have no recollection of saying that ever.
Next question.
My point is, if you have no recollection of it, you're not denying saying it.
Objection.
Are you denying saying it?
Yes.
So you do have a recollection that you never said it. Do you understand the difference?
Oh, sir, I don't believe I've ever said praying. That's really not something that I would have said. I didn't see it that day. It didn't happen. I don't remember ever saying prayed
You didn't
in
see
regards
it
to this case ever.
You didn't see it that day, and it never happened. That was your words just now, correct?
Break that down for me.
You didn't see it that day, and it never happened. That's what you're saying about the praying statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in that same exact statement, you also included the phrase, I hit him, correct?
No, sir.
In the statement that you made to Trooper Proctor,
The report that Trooper Proctor wrote?
correct?
Again, I don't remember ever saying the words praying over him. I do distinctly remember I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Which doesn't appear in that report, does it?
Objection.
I'm going to sustain that, Mr. Jackson. You directed him only to page 2.
Understood, Your Honor.
Alan Jackson is doing his best to undermine the credibility of this.
I'd like to show you a short portion of a video, the same video that you were asked to look at on direct examination.
Claiming his memory is faulty.
And Your Honor, I pray to the court, I can certainly mark it as a defense exhibit or for
So is this
identification.
going to be an exhibit by agreement?
It is.
It
Okay,
is.
So we now that, Madam Court Reporter, thank you.
The testimony is going on a little bit too long, or the cross-examination is
Thank you, Your Honor.
dragging a bit. in my-
With the court's permission, may I play a portion of that video for the jurors, publish it?
Okay. Which portion, so people know?
I'm going to start it at about, I want to say 6:55. Mr. Walt, could cue that up? Before you play it, can we have it on that screen as well, or is it only playing to this screen?
I don't know. When Ms. Gilman did it, it was both. Great.
There we go. All right. Before we play it, can I ask you a quick question about this?
Sure.
It appears that this is paused. Do you recognize this as being the same video that you were shown this morning by Mr. Brennan?
I do.
All right. Describe the scene.
So that is 34 Fairview Road. The lights in the background, I believe it is either right as we pulled up or right as we're pulling up.
Okay. Same dash cam video.
Yes, sir.
Can we scroll this to the 6:55 runtime spot, please? Pause it. Okay.
This morning, a legal
Do you
duo.
see the individual on the left? Far, far, far left.
Yeah. The jacket?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
I believe that's Firefighter Flamati.
You previously indicated that when you heard Ms. Reed make this statement, the firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing CPR at the same time you were knelt down providing the airway.
This isn't when it was
That's
stated.
not my question. Is that what you said?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. You indicated earlier when you heard this statement by my client, you were very detailed. Firefighter Flamati was knelt down providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support for Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
I had also said that at some point,
That's a
Firefighter
yes or no
Flamati
question.
Objection.
So I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
had transferred CPR to Firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly did take over compressions at one point.
Okay. That's not my question.
Okay.
My question is an easy one. Did you say that when Miss Reed walked over to you and you had this dialogue with her, she made that statement that firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Firefighter Flamati, your testimony appears to be standing up right there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's play the video forward for just a second. Stop it. What did you see firefighter Flamati do just now?
I believe he just knelt down.
Okay. So at this point, he's kneeling for the first time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's about to provide chest compressions as your memory serves, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause. Did you see my client in that photo? I'm sorry, in that clip?
No, sir.
You didn't see her?
Oh, no, I did see her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see her on right now.
Right. She just walked off frame, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward. Stop it. You see my client walk back into the frame.
Yes, sir.
At this point, you were watching firefighter Flamati. He appears to be now providing CPR, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And my client is nowhere near you, correct? At least for this clip.
No, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
And the clip that I just played before, the few seconds that I played before, nowhere near you,
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward.
You can obviously see it's snowing. There's Karen Reed. I'm wondering what Jackson is getting at. I think he's going on a little bit too long with this cross-examination.
Pause it, please.
There goes the.
What do you see happening on the screen from screen right to screen left at this juncture?
We're bringing in the stretcher.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Pause it. Do you see where my client is right now?
You back it up 2 seconds. I'm sorry, I lost
With the
view.
court's permission, I need to ask the
Yes.
court's permission. Thank you.
She's right there to the right,
Let's go ahead and play it.
far right.
Pause. Did you see my client?
Yes, sir.
Where is she in the frame?
Behind that other individual.
Behind the SUV?
I believe she's in front of the SUV and behind the other individual.
Okay. I'm at the SUV, that's the white SUV that's in
Yes, sir.
the far distance.
Yes.
That's the back of the SUV. She's behind it, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Not near you.
No.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it. Go ahead and pause it.
Karen Reed looks
Do you see
frantic.
what firefighter Flamati is still doing throughout this entire clip?
Chest compressions?
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it.
Hard to see over there, but you can see the bodies near the flagpole at the far left.
Pause. What's happening now?
Where Mr. O'Keefe's on the scoop stretcher and he's being transferred to the ambulance stretcher.
So that's the entire time Mr. Flamati, firefighter Flamati, was giving chest compressions. It's captured right here on this video, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now Mr. O'Keefe is up on the stretcher, and you are no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and firefighter Flamati is no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and you're now following the stretcher with, it looks like, 2 or 3 other EMTs, correct?
I am not in that frame, sir.
Okay, so you've walked away.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause it. See where my client is?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and play it. Do you see firefighter Flamati or firefighter Kelly continuing to give chest compressions?
Yes, sir.
Which one is that? Do you know?
Believe it's firefighter Flamati.
Flamati?
Believe so.
Okay. So he's still doing all the chest compressions from start to finish.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's happening right now?
Now we are transferring to ambulance 1.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running. That's why at Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If I may have just a second. With regard, just a couple of more questions with the court's permission.
Okay.
I'm going to change gears with regard to what you talked about on direct examination, the hypothermic conditions. You're not a medical doctor, correct?
No, sir.
You don't diagnose patients?
Sir.
You're not diagnosing that John O'Keefe suffered from hypothermia that night?
No, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any follow-up questions?
Please. Firefighter Nuttall, the video the defense just showed you, did you notice any differences between that video and when I showed it to you, and that it doesn't have the time on it?
Yes, those were two different time frames on that video.
And when we spoke about when the defendant said to you, I hit him, that wasn't shown to you in that video just now, was it?
No, it was not.
So if we go back, will you be able to explain where you came from and firefighter Flamati came from and when you first went over to John O'Keefe?
Sure.
With the court's permission, Ms. Gilman, if you could start that video. I think it is 6:11, please. Now stop it there. Do you see that this exhibit has timestamp on the top?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please continue.
This is Hank Brennan's redirect examination, clearing up any inconsistencies the witness made.
Could you stop, please? Do you see the red lights on the left?
Yes, sir.
Is that when you believe that you first arrived?
Yes, sir.
And that note says 6:11:05. Could you continue, please, Ms. Gilman? Please watch to the left. Stop, please. Is that when you first arrive and walk over to help John O'Keefe?
Yes, sir. That's me.
I'll note that the timestamp is 6:11:21. Okay, continue, please. Stop, please. Did you see firefighter Flamati come after you?
Yes, sir.
Was any of this shown to you during those questions?
No, sir.
Continue, please.
You can definitely hear Karen Reed's
Stop, please.
in this video.
Do you see the defendant in that screen?
Yes, sir.
Do you see her moving from right to left towards you?
Sustained us to the form.
Okay. What direction do you see her running in that screen from right to left?
She's running towards where the three of us are grouped.
Okay. Continue. Stop, please. Is it at that time the defendant said to you that she hit him?
Yes, sir.
And you remember that?
I do.
I'm done with the tape. Thank you very much. Now, you were asked questions about your memory.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were asked the questions about Trooper Proctor, when you were saying that you didn't remember, were you referring to the conversation with Trooper Proctor, or were you suggesting you didn't remember what happened that morning?
I don't remember the interview with Trooper Proctor. I remember it happened. I don't remember the substance of what was discussed entirely. I remember we discussed that morning, but
Do you know if that conversation was recorded or just a conversation between you and the trooper?
I do not know if it was recorded.
You asked questions. I want to ask you about questions on Mr. O'Keefe, and you mentioned that there was some type of blood clotting on the back of his head.
Yes, sir.
You noticed there were abrasions on his right arm.
Yes, sir.
You noticed there was a hematoma on the right side of his head.
Yes, sir.
Did you see any bruising on his right knee?
Don't recall, sir.
Did it stand out to you that all of his injuries, all of them that you saw, other than the cut on the back of the head, that they were all on his right side?
Yes, sir.
Did you notice any hematomas on his left side?
I did not.
Did you notice any scratches or abrasions on his left side?
I did not.
Did you notice any marks that would be consistent with an altercation on the left side of his body?
I did not.
You were asked about the cause, and you said that you don't know the cause. You weren't there, were you?
No, sir.
You asked if it was consistent with being punched, and you said it could be.
Yes, sir.
Could it be consistent with being clipped by a car?
Objection.
Sustained as to the form.
You were asked questions about clothing,
Yes, sir.
and you had at one point said you thought that Mr. O'Keefe was wearing a winter jacket. Do you have any memory that when you first got there, or when you first got there, do you have any memory whether there were any towels wrapped around Mr. O'Keefe's head?
I remember there was a white cloth of some sort on the scene.
Okay. And when you were asked about your memory regarding the clothing, was the clothing of what was utmost importance to you at that time?
No, sir.
And why is that?
I was, again, focused on Mr. O'Keefe's airway and ventilation.
Okay. And when you were asked about the clothing, do you remember if you added anything else about your certainty or uncertainty about clothing when you previously gave a statement or testimony?
I believe when I testified last year, I did note I had no part in removing any articles of clothing or anything like that. That was not my job in the back of the truck.
Do you remember any recognition of the fact whether you were certain or not about clothing?
Repeat the question, sir. I'm sorry.
Well, is there anything that would refresh your memory about what you had said about clothing?
Objection.
Ask a different question first.
You had mentioned that you had some difficulty about clothing. Do you remember what you had previously said?
I remember there was some difficulty of getting the individual's fingers through clothing just because they were so cold. They were difficult to manipulate. Just they really was not conducive to getting clothing off easily.
You met with me 3 times.
Yes, sir.
I had not met you before any of your prior testimonies, had I?
No, sir.
Do you remember meeting with me and discussing this case with me?
I do.
Do you remember me asking you to tell me what you remember?
I do.
Do you remember what I told you about testimony when you come into court?
Yes, sir.
What would I tell you?
I remember we discussed that just tell the truth.
Did I tell you that it doesn't matter? There is no side. Doesn't matter if it helps or hurts, that you just tell the truth?
Sustain.
Did I ever suggest to you that you should stick to a story?
No, sir.
Did I ever suggest to you you should offer your testimony in any certain way?
No, sir.
When I talked to you, did I ever ask you to say anything about your testimony to this jury?
No, sir.
Other than what?
Speak to the jury.
Did I need to tell you to tell the truth?
No, sir.
And in telling the truth, did the defendant say to you, I hit him, I hit him?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Yes, sir. 3 times.
And in fact, do you remember, in addition to her saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, when you asked her the question, kneeling down over John O'Keefe's body, do you remember if you ever talked about other times that she said it, not to you?
I do not.
Objection.
Okay.
The answer is I do not. Next question.
Okay. Do you remember testifying previously in this case?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember at all discussing whether or not, after she left you, whether or not the defendant was still talking and speaking?
I'm sorry, sir. Repeat the question.
Do you remember after the defendant left you and made that statement to you, do you remember did you hear her speak to other people after you?
I heard her having conversations in the background, but that was not my focus at that time.
Okay. And during those conversations in the background, did you hear her talk about that same issue again?
I believe she said it several times, but the 3 times she said it to me were what stuck out to me.
Okay. And when she said it to other people, it wasn't directly to you?
No, sir.
So watch the form of the question, Mr. Dillon.
And when she said it to-
Stating the objection.
When she said it to other people, do you know who she said it to?
I do not.
I'll allow it. So the answer is I do not.
I'm sorry.
Do you remember when she said it other times who she said it to?
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for this.
With Medicare Advantage from Mass General Brigham Health Plan, you have the perfect balance of dental and vision coverage, connected to a world-renowned health system, so you can focus on life's important moments. Learn more at mgbadvantage.org.
Sir, after the defendant came over to you and spoke and then left, do you remember hearing her make further statements?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember her making further statements similar
I do.
to the statement to you?
Yes, sir.
Could you share with the jury what you remember her saying, not to you, but after she left you?
I remember hearing I hit him several other times. Again, not directed to me, just kind of off in the background. I'd like to reiterate, we were really focused on patient. We were trying to provide care.
Thank you, sir.
So now, after Mr. Brennan asks you a few questions, Now you remember her saying, I hit him a bunch more times, correct?
I remember hearing it in the background several other times.
Really?
Sir,
Never mentioned that on direct examination, did you?
I don't remember being asked about it, sir. I remember saying what was asked to me.
You were asked, did you ever hear the defendant, Ms. Reed, say anything about I hit him? And your answer was, she said to me, in answer to my question, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and that's it.
To me.
You didn't clarify that, oh my gosh, she's running around like a chicken with her head cut off, screaming I hit him to everybody else under the sun.
It was, again, it was behind me in the background
Right?
as I was providing patient care. Again, that was not my focus.
Okay, so you didn't really hear her say anything in the background because you weren't focused on that, right?
I remember hearing a generalized commotion in the background, but again, that was not our focus.
So generalized commotion is very different than hearing her say, I hit him to other people, correct? You'd agree with that.
Yes, sir.
So what you actually heard was the chaos and the commotion of a chaotic scene, correct? In the background,
In the background.
as you focused on your patient care, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not specific words coming out of my client's mouth, correct?
To the question that I posed, do you know him?
You're right, we're off that question.
Okay.
That question, I got it.
Yes, sir.
Triple I hits.
Correct.
But with regard to what Mr. Brennan just asked you, the generalized commotion, to use your phrase, in the background, you didn't hear any specific words coming out of my client's mouth, did you?
I heard I hit him. But again, it was in the background and it was not my focus.
Well, why didn't you say that on direct? That's kind of an important point. That's why you're here.
Again, if it was neglected on my part, it was not intentional.
Not intentional to neglect that part for the jurors on direct examination.
No, sir.
Not intentional to neglect that part of your testimony on cross-examination.
No, sir.
But you decided to bring it up on on re-cross-examination when Mr. Brennan is asking you questions again, correct?
It was asked of me. Yes,
And
sir.
it was after, of course, that your new statement that you've never testified to before, ever, is this generalized commotion included a bunch of I hit hims in the background, correct?
Sir.
And that comes after you saw the video that clearly shows that when you described having heard this statement, my client was nowhere around you, correct?
That segment of the video that you showed me,
Yes.
that was not the time frame in which she said that to me.
Well, that was the time frame when Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
He was doing CPR down prior to that as well.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, you just testified that you saw him standing up in a big yellow jacket and then kneel down and start giving CPR. We just watched that video. Correct?
But again, the clip of the video that you showed me,
Right?
that was not the segment in which he said that to me.
Well, that's what you're saying now, but what I'm asking is you described a very distinctive scene, a very, very specific scene.
Yes, sir. I remember it vividly.
She said that I hit him, friends, when Flamati was down giving CPR and you were kneeling down giving airway support. And he was doing rhythmic CPR chest compression.
Yes, sir. That's what happened.
And then I showed you that very scene, didn't I?
Yes, you showed me that clip prior to that.
I showed you the very scene that you described where Flamati gets down and starts chest compressions and never stops until the gurney is taken off the frame of the camera to the Isn't that what I showed you?
That is
Sure. I don't know if I can do it again. I showed you the scene where firefighter Flamati gets down on his knees, begins chest compressions, and never stops until that gurney is taken off camera, off frame, into the ambulance. That's the clip I showed you, correct?
that's the clip you showed me.
And that's exactly when you described your vivid memory from 3.5 years ago. That's exactly the scene that you described when my client supposedly said, I hit him to you, correct?
Again, the clip that you showed me, that was not when it was said. That segment that you showed, that was not when it was said. It was said prior to that. when the
Yeah.
three of us were together.
So Flamati was not giving chest compressions then.
He was. The CPR was a continuous effort throughout the resuscitation.
But we saw him start it. Officer, firefighter Nuttall, we saw him start it. We saw him walk into the frame, kneel down, and begin the chest compressions, didn't we?
We did.
And at no point at that time or after did my client even approach you, did she, in that clip?
She did.
Did my client even approach you? What? Did she in that?
Objection.
Just a question.
Sure, sure. Do you need to see the that clip again?
Yes, please.
We're not going to show the video again. We've seen 2 videos. Which one is marked?
The
The
Commonwealth.
one with the timestamp at
Right.
the
It's
top?
the exact same video. One has timestamp, one doesn't. Just to be clear, you described a very detailed scene in which firefighter Flamati got down on the ground on his knees and began CPR. We saw a clip that it played fully through.
Mhm.
Starts and stops, but it played fully through, correct?
Yes, sir.
That was true and accurate video of what happened that day,
Yes, sir.
that morning, correct?
Correct.
And from the time firefighter Flamati began his CPR, he never stopped. Went all the way through until the burn was taken off the camera, correct?
Correct.
You also described very clearly before you saw the video that the time when my client walked over and you had this dialogue and you heard this statement, it was during the time that firefighter Flamati was given CPR, correct? You described it.
Yes, sir.
But when we actually see firefighter Flamati giving the CPR, as per your description, at no time did my client walk over and have a conversation with you, did she? In
She-
that video?
She did in the video.
In the portion that Mr. Brennan played you, was firefighter Flamati giving CPR at that point?
As I said previously,
Was
as well.
he or was he not? Yes or no?
Objection.
I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
Firefighters Kelly and Flamati were trading off CPR. Tony started doing CPR, and it was passed off at one point to firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly at that time was a BLS EMT. Firefighter Flamati was a paramedic. They're going to move towards firefighter Kelly performing CPR because at that time his skill set was not as advanced as firefighter Flamati's, as Tony's. But they did switch off. That is a routine cardiac arrest. We switch off compressions.
But the video that Mr. Brennan showed you was earlier in time, a few seconds or a minute or two earlier.
Yes, sir.
You'd agree with that, correct?
I would.
And firefighter Flamati had not begun CPR, had he?
I don't believe so.
That's right. He hadn't. But that's the time that my client walked over your general area, correct?
Correct.
Before CPR was started, correct?
CPR was started immediately, sir.
Can we wrap this up?
I don't know if we can, Judge.
Give you a couple more minutes.
Can we wrap this up? I agree with
Do you
Judge.
understand the confusion?
Objection.
Sustained.
He's going on
A
way,
couple more questions on this.
as I said.
The video that Mr. Brennan showed you,
Yes, sir.
and you pointed to and said, oh, that's the time when she walked over and said the statement.
Yes, sir.
Remember that?
I do.
Firefighter Flamati was not even kneeling down giving CPR, was he at that point?
No,
The answer is yes or no.
no.
Okay, he was not. Later, as the video continues to run, at some point, we see firefighter Flamati enter the screen, kneel down in that bright, reflective yellow jacket, and begin CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had previously said that when you heard the statement and she walked over to you, it was when firefighter Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at no point, you'll agree with me, we just played the video, at no point after he started giving CPR did my client come anywhere near you. Isn't that what the video showed?
That was the segment that you showed me.
You indicated on on redirect, that Mr. O'Keefe did not have any injuries to the left side of his body.
Not that I recall.
Isn't it true that in addition to the egg on the right side of his head, he also had a black eye on the left side?
I remember that the swelling had started to, it's referred to kind of as raccoon eyes. It's a bruising of both eyes.
Do you remember
battle
saying-
signs.
Do you remember saying, in answer to the question, did it look like in addition to the egg on the right side of his head in the front, did he also have a black eye on the left side? Your answer is, if memory serves correct, yes.
Yes, sir.
So it's not true that he didn't have any injuries on the left side of his body or face, correct?
That swelling kind of migrates over time to both sides. That is a common occurrence for both eyes to be swollen.
Did he have an injury to the left side of his face?
He did not.
Did he have a black left eye?
Yes, he did.
Would you consider a black eye an injury?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you the question again then. Did he have an injury to the left side of his face?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Very interesting, but sit down, Attorney Jackson. It's time to sit down. You're losing the jury. That's one thing they teach you in law school, is to make your point with cross-examination and sit down.
One last question.
One last,
You indicated that it was a chaotic scene outside on that front yard.
Yes, sir.
Fire engines, ambulances, patrol vehicles, engines running, diesel engines, flashing lights, people screaming, people talking over the howling wind, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see the homeowner come out the front door?
Don't recall.
You don't recall, or you didn't?
I have no idea who the homeowner is.
And you never saw anybody come out of the front of the house?
No, sir.
he's talking about the homeowner,
That's all I have.
Boston Police Officer
One issue.
Brian Elbert.
Briefly.
I want to see Counsel at sidebar.
Judge Cannoni's getting a little bit tired of it. But again, I think Attorney Jackson spent way too long cross-examining this witness. And again, I will give you a thorough analysis later in my video on opening statements. Joining me will be a retired Superior Court judge, and we're both going to decide which one wins and who is winning as of today. So make sure you tune in later as well. And feel free to, oh, here's a good one. David Allen Productions. Alan Jackson is scared of Hank. Well, I don't know about that. David Allen Productions. I'll respond to you here. What do you guys think? That it went on too long, the cross-examination? I'd love to hear from you in the chat.
Sir, in Mr. Jackson's questions, he asked if you had ever said that you heard the defendant say, "I hit him," separate from when she approached you. Do you remember previously testifying that you heard her saying, "I hit him in the background," separately from you?
Yes, sir.
You remember testifying that before under oath
Yes, sir.
in court?
I do.
Anything, Mr. Jackson?
He sounds credible there, in my opinion. got to be tough testifying in this case multiple times for these witnesses.
I'm sorry.
Attorney Jackson is thinking about it. Up, let's see. One more time, one more question. What do you think? I'm surprised Attorney David Yannetti did not do the opening
Yes.
statement.
Just a quick question,
One more
firefighter
question.
Nuttall. When you were asked to recite your memory of that day on February 8th, 2022, just 10 days after this incident, did you ever say that you heard in the background, "I hit him" over and over again?
I don't recall.
All right.
When you testified at the grand jury, last question, when you testified at the grand jury, did you ever say that?
I don't recall.
But again, your memory is better now than it was then. Right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Firefighter Nuttall, you are all set.
Thank you, ma'am.
One witness down.
All right, your next witness, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you. The Commonwealth calls Kerry Roberts.
Ooh, so this is a different order from the last trial. Kerry Roberts was called maybe a few weeks into it, as I recall last time. So this ought to be a good witness. I like the way Attorney Hank Brennan.
And I did have an exhibit I would like to introduce and
Okay.
play for the jury.
Okay.
And this is clip 2.
No objection from the defense?
No, you got it.
You want to present your witnesses in a
And
storytelling.
you're marking this as an exhibit?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So you've got to be a good storyteller when you're.
Do you have something for the court reporter to mark?
We can put it on a zip drive. We can discuss collecting all the clips and putting them on the same zip drive, or we can use different zip drives, whatever the court's preference is.
So we need something. So we need something physical. You can play it and then we'll mark it.
Ms. Gilman, do you have a separate clip?
Jim, is that right?
Thank you. I can have this marked, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Roberts, please. Okay, thank you.
We'd like to play this first and then call Ms.
Oh,
Roberts.
okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I remember it, but I question, do I remember it? Because it's been relived so much. I mean, when I see the video of me driving from the waterfall, like what I just described, tapping the brakes when I crossed the intersection, Washington over Sherman Street, do I actually remember that I kind of slowly proceeded through that green light? No, I don't actually remember that. But I've seen the video so many times that you then question, did I remember on my own? Or was my memory jogged? But I also wondered, did I say, could I have hit him? Or was it told to me that I said I hit him? And I knew I never could have said that. So the closest I must have said was, did I hit him? I know I said I hit him, but did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming I said it?
Interesting. This was not shown in the last trial.
Thank you. I now call Kerry Roberts.
I think it's a stronger case for the prosecution that Hank Brennan has decided to show these clips. In her own words. Will she testify this time? I don't know. And Kerry Roberts is a good witness.
All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your
Good afternoon,
Honor.
Ms. Roberts.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Kerry Roberts.
Ms. Roberts, where do you live?
I live in Canton, Massachusetts.
How long have you lived in the area for?
I was raised in the Boston area, North Shore, South Shore. I went to high school in Braintree and I moved to Canton about 12 years ago.
Do you live alone?
Indulge in a world of refined luxury. Explore the most captivating destinations.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Without identifying specifically where, can you share with us a little bit about what you do?
I'm an executive assistant, and I've been with my company for 18 years.
Ma'am, if you could just move the microphone just a tiny bit closer. Thank you very much. You have 2 children, you're
Yes.
married,
Yes,
and you live in the area.
yes.
I want you to tell us whether you know a person by the name of John O'Keefe.
Yes, I do.
Would you be willing to share with us when you first met Mr. O'Keefe?
Well, I went to high school with John in Braintree. He played soccer, I played soccer, so we probably hung out in middle school, but we went to 2 different middle schools. And then I hung out with him more in high school. He was a year older than me. His sister was 2 years older than him in school, and his brother was younger. So at some point, I was in high school with each of his siblings.
Did you at some point become friendly with John O'Keefe?
Yes.
Could you tell us about that?
When his sister Kristen passed away, and then her husband Steve passed away, they lived in my neighborhood. John took over for the children and moved into my neighborhood as well.
When John took in the children, did you offer any assistance or any help to him?
Yes, before John was even going to take over, he was going to potentially move in with his brother-in-law and the children to help out. And then when his brother-in-law passed away unexpectedly, John took over and I jumped in because I was a friend from high school that he knew, and he had all kinds of people helping, but he sort of said, I'm going to lean on you for right now because I know you best. And I knew his parents and his siblings. And so I introduced him to my husband and we jumped in. It was, preschool drop-offs, preschool pickups for my son and his son. And just from then until the time of his death, we were just friends, very close friends. And we hung out all the time. The children hung out all the time. And he was the emergency contact list at my children's school to call if something happened.
Were you close friends before he took over the care of the children?
No, I wasn't very close friends with him then.
Were you close with his family before he took over care of the children?
No.
Did your friendship with him develop after he took care of the children?
Yes.
You mentioned you have a son.
Yes, I do.
And is your son the same age as John's nephew?
Yes.
Was there any common interests or activities that engaged your son with John's nephew?
Well, they went to in-home daycare together. They went to preschool together. They went to pre-K together. And they went to elementary school. They played baseball together since they were T-ball. My son plays hockey. Patrick tried hockey. He didn't like that. So we spent a lot of time at the baseball fields together.
As you spent a lot of time together and had mutual care of children, did your relationship with him grow closer?
Yes.
And can you share a little bit with the jury how close you became?
Well, John was a bachelor and he didn't have any children of his own. So when he took over for the children, he sort of, leaned on us to kind of guide him and, all the things to do if there's someone has a headache and, if there's an ear infection or, he had his mom and dad also helping as well, but I was right up the street. So if I would go to BJ's, I would call and say, can I grab you anything? If I would go to Walmart, any of the places I would go, I would call and say, do you need anything? Can I help you? Can I grab something for you? And he did the same. We just sort of all chipped in and helped.
As your friendship grew, could you tell us a little bit about your relationship with John?
John and I were very close. We spoke on the phone and hung out. He became very close with my husband as well because he was right down the street. But we just had a friendship, a very close friendship.
Tell us about the day-to-day activities and how you would try to assist John with the children.
Well, John moved across town I don't remember when. I forget how many. Patrick, I think, was in 5th grade or 4th grade. And I would take him home with me on Wednesdays because John would be working. So it was more of a, and if he was at my house and my daughter needed a ride the other side of town, he would take her with him. We were just very close friends. We did a lot together. We would do baseball tournaments together. We would have drinks together. We would, all the things friends do.
As you grew closer to John and helped with the children, did you become closer with his family?
Yes.
And who specifically did you become closer with?
Mrs. O'Keefe and Mr. O'Keefe, his parents, and Paul, I would see from time to time, but not a lot. He doesn't live in Canton. But Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe would be there all the time to help as well. And Mr. O'Keefe would take my son and Patrick, the nephew, out to Dunkin' Donuts all the time.
Can you tell us a little more about the collective effort of other people, including his family, helping John raise these children?
There was a lot of us that jumped in to help. It was not just me. There was a lot of Kaylee's friends' parents that jumped in and helped out for Kaylee, his niece, and Patrick. There was a lot of us that helped out with Patrick. All of the community all came together to help him because there was this guy that just lost his sister and brother-in-law, and he stepped in to take care of his 2 kids, and he didn't really know what he was doing at first, but he got the hang of it pretty quickly.
You have a son that shared a lot of interest with his nephew.
Yes.
He also had a niece.
Yes.
Did you spend more time helping with his nephew or with his niece?
With his nephew.
Were there other people in the community you knew of who spent more time helping with his niece?
Yes.
And who was that?
Jen McCabe.
Did you know Jen McCabe?
I had met her once. John got a discount at Reebok, so he would take the kids, he would take anyone with kids up with him to get shoes, like sneakers for back to school or whatever. So one day he did take Jen and I up to Reebok, but other than that, I never talked to her on the phone. I never saw her out. Her children are older than mine, so we never really crossed paths.
As it relates to the night of January 29, 2022, how much earlier was it that John took you out with the children and Miss McCabe out with her children to get sneakers? How many years before that?
Years, like 6 or 7 maybe.
And from that time you met Jen McCabe in the years past, did you ever spend time with her again before January 29th, 2022?
No, I did not. I didn't know her.
Were you friends with her?
I was not.
Did you speak on the phone with her?
No, I did not.
So other than that one meeting, you were strangers?
Yeah, that was the only time. I knew her. I knew of her. She has 4 girls, but I didn't know her.
At some point, as you were part of John's life, did you learn that he was dating a person by the name of Karen Reed?
Yes, I did.
And do you see that person here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you point her out and describe an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She has a black suit jacket seated at the front table.
When did you first become familiar or know about Miss Reed?
July, I think it was, of 2020. John, we were having people over, and so I invited him, and he said, I'm going to bring Karen over. And I was like, I don't know who that is, but okay. He assumed I knew because he had been dating her for a little bit, but it was COVID, so we didn't see him very often during that time. So Karen came over that night.
This is early 2020?
I think it was summer, so I think it was around June or July.
Briefly, just tell us a little bit about where and the circumstances of meeting John and Karen for the first time.
They came over to my house and we hung out on the back porch, had some drinks. There was music, kids were around, just a nice, normal summer night. We had other people over as well.
Over the next coming months, did you become more familiar with the defendant?
Yes.
Did you see her more often?
Yes.
And could you generally describe to the jury how you learned more of her and saw her more often?
She would take care of the kids a lot, mainly, well, not mainly Patrick, but not mainly Kaylee either. She helped out a lot with the kids. So if we were at baseball, she would come to all the baseball games, or she would drop off or pick up my son or Patrick if they were going to the golf course or the driving range.
Would you see her during events with your son and John's nephew?
Yes, we did baseball tournaments and
So when you go to baseball tournaments, would that be away, an overnight type trip?
one of them was down the Cape.
How often would you spend time with John and the defendant?
Not that often together, but John would stop by himself. My husband would go out more with John, but I didn't spend much time with the two, not a lot of time outside of the baseball field.
Did you become friends with the defendant?
We were friendly.
Did you ever spend time alone to go out or socialize?
I did not.
Would you see her when you would pick up or drop off kids, or she would pick up or drop off kids?
Yes.
Did you ever speak to her on the phone?
Yes.
In relation to what?
Corresponding with the kids, pick up, drop off, mainly Ryan and Patrick, not about Kaylee.
Did you ever spend any important dates or times or holidays with John and Miss Reed?
No.
I want you to take us ahead to January 28th, 2022.
Okay.
On January 28th, 2022, do you remember that day?
Yes.
Generally, what do you remember about the day of January 28th, 2022?
There was a blizzard coming, and it was my daughter's friend's birthday. So we were going to be going out celebrating that night, but we did it on the early side because there was a blizzard coming.
What was your plan for that evening?
We went bowling. We got dinner, then we went bowling, and then I came home because I wanted to be in before the snow started.
Had you communicated in any way with John that day?
Yes, he texted me. My son had had an issue at school. Patrick had been dismissed, I think, for a doctor's appointment. So he did text me to see how my son was doing.
Did you simply text, or did you get a chance to speak to him that day?
I believe no, I did not.
Was your husband home?
Yes,
Did he go out that night?
he did. He went out with John.
And do you know where he was planning on going?
They went to McCarthy's, a bar in Canton Center.
Had you been to McCarthy's before?
Yes.
Can you just briefly describe what McCarthy's is?
It's a restaurant bar. There's a large bar in the middle, the seating on the left and the right. It's right in the center of town.
Do you remember about what time your husband went out?
I do not remember exactly. I don't know if I got home and then he went out, or if he was already gone when I got home. I don't remember, but it was he went out around the same time that I arrived home, which was on the earlier side.
How many times had you been to John's home, would you say, over the past couple of years before this night?
Oh, many.
Many times?
Many times.
Were you familiar with the house and the driveway?
Yes.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Should I return to the podium and ask the questions?
You
now?
can ask them from there.
Thank you. Ma'am, I'd ask you to take a look at that photo in front of you. Do you recognize what is in that photo?
That is John's house.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how his house looks?
Yes, it is.
I'd like to move this to evidence, please.
Okay, any objection?
No objection. May I publish to the jury, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. You can take it down. I've shown you a second. Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, that's John's driveway.
Is that an accurate depiction of how John's driveway appears?
Yes, it is.
I'd move that into evidence. No objection.
Okay.
Exhibit 7, so marked.
May I publish?
Yes.
Could. Thank you. I'm showing you a third photo. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes.
And could you share with the jury what's in that photo?
It's the side of John's house looking up from the driveway.
Is there anything you notice on the side of the house?
The lights or the Ring camera.
Are you guessing or do you know that's a
No,
Ring camera?
I know there's one there
And how do you know that?
because I got a Ring camera and I could look and see who was at my door. And then he said, why didn't you tell me about these things? So he bought one.
I move to introduce this photo.
Okay,
No objection.
thank you.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts, with the laser pointer, could you just point at the picture and show where the Ring camera is?
On this screen?
Yes, please.
Whichever one you can do.
Okay. Why isn't it working?
Nope.
It's on.
Okay, well, you know what, rather than use the pointer, why don't we can you describe where you see the Ring camera on that picture?
It's in where the two lights are under the top window.
Okay, thank you. We can take that down, please. How many times would you guess you had been over to his house?
I don't know. More than 50,000. I don't even know. A lot. It was weekly.
That night, you told us that your husband went out to meet John at McCarthy's, the bar.
Yes, he did.
Do you remember your husband coming home that night?
Yes.
Do you have any memory of about what time he returned?
I'm guessing, but somewhere around 10:30.
So I'm not going to let you guess. Do you know? Do you have it?
I don't know. It was around 10 or 10:30. I can't be exact.
Did you see him come home?
Yes.
What was the forecast for that night and the next morning?
There was a blizzard coming.
Was that part of the decision-making of going out or staying home?
Yes.
At that time, when your husband came home, did you look outside? Do you have any memory of what the weather looked like around 10:30?
I remember the snow started to fall somewhere around 12 because I remember looking out the window and I could see it starting.
And that was the beginning of the snowfall?
I believe so.
What was the weather out that night?
The weather that night, I think, was fine. It was cold, but it wasn't snowing yet.
I want to move forward ahead. At some point that night, did you go to sleep?
Yes, I did.
Did you sleep through the night, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did you wake up?
Yes, I did.
I want you to tell us what was the reason that you woke up.
I got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning from Karen Reed.
Were you expecting a call?
No, I was not.
This is good.
Had you ever received a call at 5 in the morning from Ms. Reed before?
No.
Share with us what happened that morning. What did you hear?
Karen called and the first thing she said was, Kerry, John's dead. And then she hung up.
That's a big one.
And then
When she said that, did you have a chance to have a conversation with her?
no, I did not.
Describe her demeanor when she said that.
She was yelling loud enough my name. I think it was 3 times. It might have been 2. She was yelling loud enough that she woke my husband.
Your husband was sleeping next to you?
Yes, he was.
Was she loud, yelling, screaming?
Yes, she was very loud. She was screaming.
After she said, Kerry, John's dead, did you know what she meant?
No,
And did you say this was around 5:15?
this was at 5. She called me at 5 on the dot.
After she hung up, what did you do?
I was half asleep still. I didn't know what was going on. So I started to get up and I think I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know exactly when because I was like, what? So my husband said, what was that? I said, I don't know. Something's going on. I don't know what's going on. That was Karen. And then I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know if she answered or if she called me back the next time I spoke to her.
After you or she called you again, did you have another discussion or did you hear her say something else the second time you spoke to her?
Yes, the second time she said, I think something happened to John. I think he got hit by a plow. He didn't come home last night. Haley was home. He would never leave her by herself, and I was not supposed to stay at the house last night. So I think something happened to him.
Did she say anything about drinking?
yes, she said, we drank so much, I don't remember anything from last night. And I said, okay, where are you now? She said, I'm driving. And I said, you need to go home. Where's Kaylee? And she said, at home. I said, you need to go home and be with Kaylee. She cannot handle this, thinking, her uncle's missing. I said, you're going to get a DUI. You need to go home.
Was there anything else in the conversation that she said to you at that time?
She said, I'm going to drive to your house. Would you drive my car? And I said, yes. So at that point, I started to get dressed. I turned on the automatic car starter so it would warm up. Told my husband, I don't know what's going on. John didn't come home. And so I think my husband tried to call him and I tried to call him. And my husband said, you're not going anywhere. It's a blizzard. He's probably on somebody's couch. And I was like, I know, but she's really upset. I'm just going to go. She wants to come here. I'm going to drive her car. And then I went out to my car and sat and waited for her.
When you called John, did you get any response?
No, I did not.
As you were waiting for the defendant, did you make any other phone calls?
I did. When I was in the car, I thought to myself, well, she thinks he got hit by a plow. I'm going to call the police and see if there was any accidents or maybe something happened. They brought him in. And I spoke to the officer who said, no, nothing of that sort. I've been here all night. And then I called the Good Samaritan Hospital and Milton Hospital to see if they had anybody that was taken in an accident.
When you called the police to look for Mr. O'Keefe, did you call 911?
No, I called the non-emergency line.
Do you know if that call was recorded?
I believe so.
I'd like to introduce an exhibit.
Okay. Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
I think Kerry Roberts she's a pretty credible witness, if you ask me.
When you called the police, what was your level of worry at that point?
I wasn't super worried. I mean, he didn't come home, but they were out drinking. So I assumed, like my husband said, he's probably on somebody's couch.
The second call you had was Miss Reed. Can you describe her demeanor in that second call?
She was frantic. I mean, she couldn't find John, so she was very worried.
How soft or loud was that phone call?
It wasn't as loud as the first one, but it wasn't a regular conversation.
With the court's permission, I'd like to play the exhibit of the call.
Okay.
Hi, friend Sarah, I'm calling because my friend's boyfriend did not come home last night. We were at Watertown, and now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is. You didn't take anybody outside the name of John O'Keefe, did you?
John O'Keefe?
Yeah, he's about to cop, and it will be on film, so.
No.
He probably got a ride and passed out of someone's house, I don't know, but.
Yeah, no, we didn't want anybody else or anything like that. And where does he live?
He lives on Meadow, there on
He lives on Meadow, off Pleasant. Okay, and where is the wife home? You said your girlfriend?
With his girlfriend, yeah, they were out having drinks, and then she left and expected him to come home at some point, and he never did.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, my husband had been out with him earlier in the night, but then he obviously came home. And he has custody with me to nephew because their parents passed away.
Okay.
And so she's home with the weekend having a nail and I to be home. And so she's nervous because he never even called me.
Yeah.
So she's like, I feel like something happened. And I said, okay. Well, so call the area.
If you're looking for a field where you can really make an impact on people's quality of life and bring more meaning and purpose to their lives, then this is a place for you.
A 3% IRA match with Robinhood Gold. The reckoning has commenced.
Again, it's more, it would be driven by you. She would have to, call in, come to the patient, and talk to us. But I mean, as of right now, it's more, he just didn't come home last night. Is this common sometimes? What happened with him?
No, no, that's why. That's because he didn't tell me. That's kind of why she's more freaking out. So I figured I called the other hospital, I said, call Kansas police just to make sure he didn't get picked up. But like I said, it's not complete stuff, really no respect to people. If anybody could pick him up.
Yeah.
I don't know where he is.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of party and stuff.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I wasn't there, I was not there. But we didn't get any calls, anything like that. Nobody was arrested or anything like that. All righty.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, no problem. Good luck.
Thank you, bye-bye.
So that's
When you called the police station and the hospitals looking for John?
Yes, he was.
Do you know at that point whether anybody else had called the police station?
No, I don't know.
Do you know at that point if anybody else had called any hospitals?
I don't know.
How long did you wait in your driveway?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe like 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
What were the conditions like out that morning?
It was bad. It was in the middle of a blizzard.
When you were outside in your car in the driveway waiting, describe the lighting conditions for us.
It was still dark out. It was 5 o'clock in the morning and it was snowing. So it was not great.
How was the visibility?
Not great. It
visibility
was coming
is-
down really fast at that point.
It's
You
important.
said that night when you went to bed, the snow just started. Had snow accumulated at that point?
No, I don't think so. It was just starting to stick.
I'm sorry, that was the night before, but at this point when you were in the driveway, had the snow accumulated?
Oh, yes.
Do you know how many inches it was?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Enough that the plows are out.
As you were waiting for the defendant, did she arrive at your house?
She did not.
What happened?
Again, I don't know if I called her or she called me, but eventually we connected on the phone and she said, I said, where are you? I'm waiting. And she said, I'm at Jen's house. And I said, Jen, who? And she said, McCabe, she's going to drive my car. And I said, okay, well, listen, they don't want cars on the road because it's so bad. I'm already in my car. I'll come there to Jen's house, stay there, and we'll follow each other and we'll go back and drop your car off. Did you look in the house for John? Could he just be in the house, passed out somewhere? And she said, no, she hadn't looked in the house. So I said, okay.
That's weird.
Now I'm going to come to Jen's. We're going to take the car home, drop it off. We'll check around the house. And then I don't know what the next step at this point was. I just wanted to check the house.
At the time you directed that you were going to meet at Jen McCabe's house and then drive to John's house, was there any suggestion by the defendant where she wanted to go?
I didn't know where Jen's house was. I knew the street. I had dropping Kaylee off or picked her up a few times. So I said, stay on the phone with me so I don't know which house it is. And so when I got there, I pulled in the driveway and there was some conversation about.
Can I back you up and just ask you a little bit about the drive there? I don't
Yep.
mean to interrupt. When you left your house, you talked a little bit about the weather conditions. How long did it take you to get from your home to Jen McCabe's?
Oh, it's quick.
Okay, listen, I gotta go. I'm trying to go live. Okay. Oh my God. Something wrong with the stream.
I think I interrupted you, but were you telling us that as you drove to Jen McCabe's house, you were on a Bluetooth, on an open conversation with her to help with directions?
Yes, Jen and Karen were in Karen's car, and I was on the phone essentially with both of them.
Do you know what type of vehicle the defendant was driving at that time?
A Lexus SUV.
As you drove over to Jen McCabe's home and you had some guidance finding it, did you hear any conversations in that open line with, or even any statements by the defendant?
I remember when I pulled in behind her car in Jen's driveway, and at some point Karen said, my taillight, and I looked, and Jen she must have had the brake done because you could see that there was missing taillight.
When you say missing taillight, was it merely cracked?
No, there was a piece missing.
Could you see that as you were parked right behind the defendant's SUV or Lexus?
She must have been applying